Hello and welcome to the GTRIP Research Methods for Library and Information Professional Series. My name is Sumaya Ahmed and I am a doctoral fellow in the School of Information and Library Science at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in the United States. This module is about case study methods. Today we're going to discuss case study methodology in general and in information and library science specifically. First, we will give a background on the case study method, and then we will discuss some controversies about the method and look at how it has been used in information and library science. The case study is thought to have been pioneered by sociologists at the University of Chicago in the early 20th century. As sociologists there attempted to illuminate the social instance through the study of the immigrant experience in the United States. For example, the 1918 book, The Polish Peasant in Europe and America, by William Thomas and Florian Zednicki, contributed to the methodology of the case study, whose method and data analysis had already been established at the Graduate Department of Sociology at the University of Chicago. According to Jennifer Platt, the case study is most associated with the Chicago School, and its origins were intimately linked with the social worker's case history or casework. The data for some early case studies actually were drawn from case records of social workers. Up until the 1960s, there was a common understanding of the case study to be a collection of data on many variables for each case, or the placing of data on individual cases into rich context. By the end of World War II, the idea of the case study, according to Platt, was falling into insignificance. It's not clear that the practice had disappeared, but only that the term vanished from methodological discussions. Platt attributes this absence to the quantitative turn research took during World War II and the post-war era. But then there was a, quote, marked revival in qualitative research post-1960, and the case study has since then begun to make a noticeable return to serious research. Today, the case study is used across disciplines, including psychology, sociology, political science, social work, and business. Oram and all believe that it represents a significant methodological tool and strategy for the social scientist. They believe that the case study is a research strategy rather than a method or methodology. In their opinion, the case study cannot be reduced to a single method, such as a survey or an interview. They reject the label methodology because it can refer to the use of a, quote, particular method or methods and the theoretical framework that informs its use, while case study can involve any combination of methodologies and methods. Yin, who is the most well-known scholar of the case study, contends that the case study is preferred when a how or why question is being asked about a contemporary set of events over which the investigator has little or no control. The benefit of the case study is that it provides, quote, insight into human motivations that permit the researchers to examine not only the complex web of life in which people are implicated, but also the impact on beliefs and decisions of the complex web of social interaction. Some scholars make a clear distinction between the case study and other qualitative methods. Yin says that the case study is often confused with participant observation, while Cresswell differentiates case studies from ethnographies, which he treats as a separate qualitative method. There are varying definitions of the case study. Here are two. Mills et al. Explain that the case study is a research strategy and define it as, quote, a focus on the interrelationships that constitute the context of a specific entity, such as an organization, event, phenomenon, or person. Compare this to Yin's definition, which states that the case study is a, quote, empirical inquiry that investigates a contemporary phenomenon within its real-life context, especially when the boundaries between phenomena and context are not clearly evident. Case study design is generally composed of the following processes: case selection, data gathering, data analysis, data management, interpretation, and then write-up and reporting. It is important to choose cases well in order to produce the greatest understanding. When a case is chosen to represent some phenomena, it should represent some larger population of cases, according to Stake, and it should offer, quote, the opportunity to learn, unquote. Case studies are unique in that they utilize multiple forms of evidence. This can include documents, archival records, direct observation, participant observation, physical artifacts, and interviews. The use of multiple data sources to produce, quote, converging lines of inquiry is referred to as triangulation of data and is considered to be the process of using multiple perceptions to clarify meaning and to verify the repeatability of your observations and interpretations. Case study observations are generally the result of the researcher spending an extended period of time at their research site, being in personal contact with the activities and the operations of their case. Case study data analysis entails the detailed description of the case under study. In addition to providing a, quote, thick description of the case, the researcher is simultaneously categorizing and coding the data in an attempt to look for patterns that could support what State calls, quote, naturalistic generalizations. Those generalizations that could apply to the case or to other populations beyond the case. Lincoln and Guba discuss important measures needed to judge the quality of case study research. In their opinion, the measures for judging the quality of the case study narrative are co-equally critical to those which judge the quality of the research process. Their 4 classes of criteria for judging the quality of case study reports are 1. Resonance, 2. Rhetoric, 3. Empowerment, and 4. Applicability. Resonance relates to the degree of fit between the report and the set of beliefs that motivated the research inquiry. Rhetoric relates to the internal consistency and logic of the assertions and conclusions of the research. Empowerment refers to a transfer of knowledge to the reader that would facilitate action if desired. Applicability is the extent to which the case study facilitates the drawing of inferences by the reader that may have applicability in his or her own context or situation. It is applicability and not generalizability that the authors believe is a vital part of the successful case study. The case study is regularly invoked in social science research while at the same time being, quote, irregularly, randomly, and poorly defined. While the case study is considered to be an important methodological tool in the social sciences, the non-rigorous application of the term has introduced confusion into the research record. The indiscriminate invoking of the case study under these circumstances has led to it becoming a catch-all for any research that cannot otherwise be labeled survey, experimental, etc. By this we mean there are many pieces of research published that are called case studies that have not followed the methods that we have outlined in this discussion. However, there are methodologically sound case studies that have been used successfully within the context of information science and library science. For example, Barbara Moran's 2005 case study on the integration and centralization of Oxford University's libraries is a good example of the case study method in information and library science. Moran conducted a longitudinal case study at Oxford over the period of 7 years using interviews and document analysis as her primary forms of data collection. Marx's 1983 study of resistance to management information systems is a classic example of the successful use of case study method in information systems. Another example that deals with the application of the case study method in information science is the 1987 work of Bimbasid, Goldstein, and Mead. With the intention of trying to provide suggestions on how to conduct and evaluate case study research in the field, they went on to categorize and evaluate a sample of case-based research from selected information science journals. They produced a kind of systematic review on the use of the case study with regards to research on information systems. Among the criteria by which they judged case studies were sample selection, units of analysis, data collection method, and the level of descriptions about the units. As you can see, while there's little consistency on the definition of the case study or the extent to which its findings can be generalizable, its use of multiple data sources and the ability to detail the particular allows it to be a valuable research methodology, particularly used in social science research, and especially information and library science. Thank you for watching the GTRIP Research Methods for Library and Information Professionals series module on the case study method. You can find more information about using the case study method in the additional reading section. Good luck with your research.